May 1st, 1943. 25,000 feet above Saint-Nazaire, France. The B-17 flying fortress shudders like a wounded beast, engines roaring against the thin, freezing air. Flak bursts bloom below, black puffs of death clawing upward, each one a gamble with oblivion. Inside the bomber, the crew grips their stations, breaths fogging in the sub-zero chill. You can almost feel the bite of that wind whistling through the thin aluminum skin, hear the distant thunder of anti-aircraft guns echoing like a predator's growl. Sergeant Maynard Harrison Smith, Snuffy to those who knew his sharp tongue and shorter stature, hunkers in the ball turret, a glass bubble dangling beneath the fuselage. At just 5'4", he's crammed into the spherical cage, knees to his chest, twin .50 caliber machine guns his only companions. This is his first combat mission, a baptism by fire over the U-boat pens of occupied France. No time for nerves. The formation of fortresses from the 306th Bomb Group plows through the flak field, bomb sites locked on the submarine yards below. The lead plane signals, bombs away. Payloads tumble earthward, whistling promises of destruction. But the Luftwaffe isn't idle. Focke-Wulf 190 scream in from the sun, cannons blazing. Tracers zip past Snuffy's turret like angry hornets, pinging off the fortress's wings. "Bandits at 6 o'clock!" the tail gunner yells over the intercom, his voice cracking with adrenaline. Snuffy swivels his guns, squeezing triggers in short bursts, rat-tat-tat, sending brass casings clattering across the turret floor. One fighter peels away, smoke trailing from its engine. Victory? Hardly. The real hell is just igniting. A shell rips through the radio compartment, exploding in a shower of sparks and shrapnel. Flames erupt instantly, licking at oxygen tanks and ammo belts. The radio operator staggers back, blood soaking his flight suit. "Fire! We're on fire!" His scream cuts through the chaos. Smoke billows, acrid and choking, filling the waist section. The co-pilot, hit in the leg, slumps against his harness, morphine syringe already in hand, but hands too shaky to use it. Panic ripples through the crew, men who've flown a dozen sorties now facing the abyss. In the belly, Snuffy feels the plane lurch. He cranks the turret upward, scrambling out into the inferno. The fortress is a tinderbox, flames racing along fuel lines, ammunition cooking off in pops and bangs. Two gunners bail out, parachutes blooming like desperate flowers against the blue. The pilot, Captain Lewis P. Johnson, wrestles the controls, yelling for status. "Smith, get that fire out!" But Snuffy's already moving, a pint-sized whirlwind in sheepskin and flak vest. He grabs a fire extinguisher. Empty? No, half full, and blasts at the base of the blaze. CO2 hisses, but the fire laughs back, fed by leaking aviation fuel. You imagine it, the heat warring with the cold, sweat freezing on his brow as he dashes between stations. The waist guns chatter unmanned, Focke-Wulfs circling like sharks. Snuffy pauses, swings one gun around, and unleashes a stream of lead at a closing fighter. It banks hard, evading, but not before stitching holes in the tail. More damage. The rudder jams partially, the fortress veering like a drunkard. Amid the roar, Snuffy spots the wounded radio operator, crumpled and moaning. He kneels, administers morphine with steady hands, hands that shouldn't be steady, but are. "Hang in there, buddy," he mutters, voice gruff but kind. Then back to the fire. Extinguisher spent, he stamps at flames with his boots, singeing leather and skin. Still not enough. In a move of desperation or sheer audacity, he unzips his flight suit and urinates on the smoldering ammo belts. Steam rises, the fire sputters. Absurd? Heroic? In that moment, it's survival.
The plane groans, losing altitude. Fighters peel in for the kill, sensing blood. Snuffy mans the top turret now, guns blazing in defiance. Bullets rip through the plexiglass canopy, wind howling in. Is this the end? The fortress lists, engines straining, one coughing black smoke. Captain Johnson fights to keep her level, but the odds stack higher. How does one man hold back the apocalypse? And yet, as the flak fades and the fighters hesitate, a glimmer of hope pierces the smoke. But with the English Channel still miles away, and the bird bleeding fuel, the real test is just beginning. The English Channel stretches below like a gray shroud, waves crashing far beneath the limping fortress. Altitude bleeds away, down to 20,000 feet, then 15,000, as the battered B-17 claws westward, trailing smoke from a wounded engine. Fighters shadow her, FW-190s darting in and out, testing for weakness. Captain Johnson's voice crackles over the intercom, strained but steady. "Hold on, boys, we're not done yet." But 3 crewmen have already chosen the sea over the fire, their chutes vanishing into the clouds. The tail gunner lies slumped, severely wounded, his station silent. Snuffy Smith, barely 115 pounds soaking wet, becomes the heartbeat of the dying bird. You can picture him there, face blackened with soot, eyes stinging from smoke that pours through ruptured bulkheads. The fire rages fiercest in the waste and radio room, fed by severed oxygen lines, hissing like angry snakes. Ammunition belts cook off, pop, 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 rounds exploding in wild bursts, ricocheting through the fuselage like deadly hornets. Metal glows red hot, the aluminum skin warps under the heat. He wraps himself in whatever cloth he can grab, flight jackets, seat cushions, anything to shield his skin. Then, with bare hands and sheer will, he beats at the flames. Extinguisher long empty, he smothers the blaze section by section, fingers blistering as he pulls burning debris away from fuel lines. The radio operator, blood pouring from shrapnel wounds, groans nearby. Snuffy drags him clear, applies tourniquets fashioned from belts, injects morphine with trembling precision. "Stay with me, buddy," he growls, voice hoarse, over the roar of wind through gaping holes. But the fighters won't let up. A 90 dives straight at the waist, cannons winking orange. Snuffy leaps to the left 50 cal, yanks the charging handles, and unleashes a defiant roar, tracers stitching the sky. The German breaks off, wingtip smoking. Another attacks from the tail. Snuffy spins to the right gun, fires until the barrel glows. Wave after wave they come, sensing an easy kill. Alone now in the rear, he mans both waist guns, the top turret when needed, pivoting like a man possessed. Brass casings pile at his feet, spent belts clattering overboard into the void. Exploding ammo threatens to tear the plane apart. Heavy chutes of 50 cal rounds, too hot to touch at first, begin to detonate. Snuffy heaves them out through the open windows, each one nearly as heavy as he is, muscles screaming, lungs burning from smoke and exertion. One by one, he tosses them clear, lightening the load, buying precious minutes. The fire sputters, weakens under his relentless assault. Inch by inch, he reclaims the fortress from the inferno. Hours drag like eternity. The coast of England finally appears, a thin green line on the horizon. Fuel gauges near empty, controls sluggish from severed cables. Captain Johnson nurses her towards the nearest airfield, a coastal strip in southwest England. Fighters peel away, job unfinished. The crew, those still conscious, owe their lives to the pint-sized gunner who refused to quit. As the gear touches down in a grinding screech, the exhausted B-17 rolls to a halt. Ground crew rush forward, extinguishers ready, only to watch in horror as the battle-scarred fuselage collapses under its own weight moments later, riddled with over 3,500 holes. But the men inside stumble out alive. Snuffy, singed and spent, helps carry the wounded to safety. In the debrief tent, wide-eyed officers listen to the tale. A first-mission gunner single-handedly saving a doomed bomber? Impossible. Yet here stands proof. Whispers spread through the 306th. Who is this Snuffy Smith, the base misfit everyone loved to hate?
In the smoky debriefing room at Thurley Airfield, the surviving crew of the B-17 sit wrapped in blankets, nursing cigarettes and hot coffee. Their faces are gray with exhaustion, eyes still wide from the ordeal. Ground personnel crowd the door, whispering as they stare at the wreck outside. Fuselage crumpled like tinfoil, wings shredded, the name Werewolf barely legible through the scorch marks. Over 3,000 bullet and shrapnel holes, a plane that should never have flown again. Captain Johnson speaks first, voice low but firm. He describes the fire, the fighters, the men lost over the channel. Then he pauses. If it wasn't for Sergeant Smith, he doesn't finish. He doesn't need to. One by one, the crew nod toward the small man in the corner, Maynard Snuffy Smith, soot-streaked, bandaged hands cradling a mug he hasn't touched. The base troublemaker, the wise-cracking mechanic from Michigan who'd been busted down from staff sergeant twice for mouthing off and fighting. The guy everyone figured would crack under pressure. But he didn't crack. He held the plane together with his bare hands. Word spreads fast through the 306th Bomb Group. Pilots who once rolled their eyes at Snuffy's antics now slap him on the back. Enlisted men buy him beers he quietly refuses. He doesn't drink. The story grows legs. How he put out the fire, tended the wounded, fought off fighters alone, even pissed on burning ammunition to save the ship. Laughter mixes with awe. It's too outrageous to be anything but true. Back home in the States, the Army Air Force's public relations machine catches wind. By late May, newspapers carry the headline, "Ball Turret Gunner Saves Crew Single-Handed." Photos of the battered werewolf appear nationwide. Americans hungry for heroes devour the tale. This scrappy little guy from Cairo, Michigan, who stood 5'4" and weighed less than his own parachute pack, defying death at 25,000 feet. In Washington, the recommendation climbs the chain of command. Eyewitness accounts from Captain Johnson and the crew are airtight. The citation reads like fiction, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity and action above and beyond the call of duty. The Medal of Honor, the nation's highest award, rarely given to enlisted men, almost never to someone on their very first mission. July 1943. Secretary of War Henry L. Stimson summons Snuffy to his office. The ceremony is small, private, no press allowed yet. Stimson pins the pale blue ribbon around the sergeant's neck. Snuffy stands ramrod straight, eyes forward, the medal heavy against his chest. "Congratulations, son," Stimson says. Snuffy, true to form, replies with a quiet, "Thank you, sir." But his mind is already elsewhere, back in the smoke and fire with the crew he pulled through. Soon, the War Department sends him on a bond tour across America. Factories, shipyards, rallies, he speaks to thousands. Crowds cheer the pint-sized hero in his dress uniform, the medal gleaming. Women faint. Kids collect his autograph. Reporters asked how it felt. Snuffy shrugs. "I was scared to death, bluntly. Just did what needed doing." But beneath the fame, something quieter takes root. Crews across the 8th Air Force start talking about Snuffy's fix, makeshift repairs under fire, refusing to abandon ship, fighting with whatever's at hand. The story becomes legend. If a little guy like Smith could bring a burning fortress home alone, then maybe they could too. Yet even heroes carry shadows. Snuffy hates the spotlight, hates the speeches, misses his tools, his turret, the raw honesty of combat. And as the war grinds on, claiming more friends with every mission, he wonders if one medal can ever balance the cost. But for now, in the summer of 1943, America has its hero. And the B-17 crews flying into hell over Europe carry something new.
Proof that even when everything burns, one man can still hold the line. Autumn 1943 fades into winter, while bombers still thunder out of England every dawn, bound for the Reich. Sergeant Maynard Snuffy Smith is far from the flak and the fighters. The War Department keeps him stateside, touring factories and bond rallies from Detroit to Los Angeles. Crowds pack auditoriums to see the smallest man with the biggest medal. Newsreels capture him on stage, 5'4", baby-faced, the blue ribbon stark against his dress blues. He speaks plainly, no polish. I ain't no hero, the heroes are the ones still over there. But the cheers follow him everywhere. Women send letters by the thousands. Children mail drawings of burning B-17s with a tiny gunner saving the day. Hollywood wants his story. Earl Flynn is rumored for the lead. Snuffy turns them flat. Nobody needs to see me on a movie screen, he mutters to aides. He misses the grease under his nails, the smell of aviation fuel, the raw camaraderie of the ground crew he'd once driven half mad with practical jokes. Back in Cairo, Michigan, his hometown throws a parade. Main Street shuts down. The high school band plays the Army Air Corps song. His mother weeps when she sees the medal. His father, a quiet farmer, just shakes his hand long and hard. Snuffy spends the evening in the old garage where he learned to fix engines, tinkering with a tractor engine until the early hours. Normal feels like a dream he can't quite hold on to. By 1944, the bond tours wind down. The Army offers him a commission, officer bars, a desk job. He refuses. I fix things, sir. That's what I do. They send him instead to training bases across the country, teaching new gunners how to survive in the fortress. He stands before classrooms of wide-eyed kids barely out of high school, showing them how to smother fires with whatever's at hand, how to keep shooting when hope is gone. Fear's normal. Let it ride shotgun, but don't let it take the wheel. He never brags, never mentions the medal unless asked point blank. Fellow instructors notice how he lingers after class, helping the slow learners strip and reassemble 50 cows until they can do it blindfolded. The same sharp tongue that once got him busted now cuts through excuses like a knife. You think the Germans care if you're tired? Get it right. The war ends in Europe in May 1945. Japan follows in August. Snuffy musters out that fall, the Medal of Honor tucked in a drawer. He returns to Michigan, marries his sweetheart Betty, starts a family, works as a mechanic, then for the Air Force as a civilian technician. Quiet years, steady years. The spotlight fades. Old comrades visit now and then, trading stories over coffee. He listens more than he talks. Decades roll by. The 8th Air Force reunions grow smaller each year. Fewer voices, more empty chairs. In 1984, at a reunion in Savannah, Georgia, the survivors of the Werewolf crew gather one last time. Gray-haired now, they embrace Snuffy like a brother. Captain Johnson, long retired, raises a glass to the man who wouldn't let us die. Snuffy just nods, eyes misty. On May 25, 1984, 41 years to the day after that first mission, Maynard Harrison Smith passes away quietly at age 72. No fanfare, no headlines at first, but word spreads through the aviation world like wildfire. Veterans who never met him feel the loss, because Snuffy wasn't just a hero of one day in 1943. He became something larger. Proof that ordinary men, flawed and frightened, can reach inside themselves and find something extraordinary when the moment demands it. At Arlington National Cemetery, they bury him with full honors. The folded flag passes to his family. A B-17 flyover roars overhead, 4 engines thundering in salute. And somewhere in the hearts of every crew that ever flew the fortress through hell, a small voice still whispers, if Snuffy could do it, so can we.